an interesting video for you today, guys. We are going to talk about metal songwriting, particularly the rhythms and the riffs. Now, what I'm going to do is take you through 3 sections of a song, and I'm going to break each section down and kind of go through why I did what I did. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am not telling you you have to write a song this way. I'm not even telling you how to write a song. My goal for this video here is just to help give you some new and fresh ideas with your own music that you're writing. Now, you'll want to hang around till the end of the video because what you're about to hear is actually not the original version that I recorded. I actually did something completely different, and you'll get to hear a little bit of that at the end. And of course, I'll explain why the song changed. So that's going to be our interesting guitar chat. All right, so here's the 3 metal rhythms that we're going to break down. There's 3 sections that you'll hear, and again, we'll break them down one by one. All right, now let's break each of those 3 metal rhythms down piece by piece. Now, I'm not going to be giving any tabs. This is not, here's how you play this particular song. This song has not even been released yet. It is part of the new album, which I'll kind of briefly chat about at the end of the video when you hear the old version. But anyway, let's break them down. I'm going to play that first intro real quick one more time, and then we'll dive deep into that. Now, you guys know I'm not really aggressive by nature, but I wanted this intro to be aggressive. I wanted it to just grab your attention and captivate the listener. As soon as this comes on with those really awesome drums, you got that double bass in there, you know exactly what time it is. It's time for some metal. So that's exactly what I wanted. And with the way the drums were just really driving this, you know, the guitar kind of had to keep up with that. But I wanted there to be a sense of melody as well. So what I started out with is just with some hammer-ons and some fast alternate picking here. So real quick, I'm on the A string. You know, I'm not doing tabs in this video, guys, but I'm on the A string, frets 5 and 7. I move over to the E string, frets 5 and 7, and then we're on frets 7 and 8 there. And it's just a quick hammer on. As soon as I hammer down, I start alternate picking. So that's all that is. And again, it's just something you can kind of like, you know, mentally capture and take with you. It's like, okay, well, let me try something like that in this riff that I'm writing right now. Let me throw that in and see what it does, right? See how that changes the song. Once I finish that little part, I go into some really odd sounding power chords here. So listen to this. And then the second time around, I do something similar, just kind of in a different spot there. So all those chords are, it's just really a specific note over a note. And from the power chord perspective, where normally you have one fret in between those 2 notes that you're playing for the power chord, I'm just extending one more fret. So you can do that in certain keys with certain notes. Now here I'm playing something that really technically doesn't even fit. I'm playing a B over a G to start out with, right? Which that's the E string, what is that, 7th fret, A string, 10th fret. So then I move over and play the same thing on the A and D strings, which that's an E over C, okay? So it just gives it a little bit different, like almost like an odd texture to the song. I could have done something different, could have played a regular power chord, you know, but I wanted something kind of unique, but not like over the top, like where it sounds like ultra weird or anything like that. I think that it fits, you know, it fits really well in that. You know, I played around with some other chords, and that one fit the best. I'm like, okay, we're sticking with that. And I kind of do the same thing on the second time around. The A and D string, frets 4 and 7 there. So that's really a C sharp over an A. Then I went to just a regular A power chord. So, and again, it's something really aggressive. We start out with those little hammer-ons with alternate picking. Really that aggressive feel. It's like, okay, it's metal time. But then we throw in these really odd power chords in there, right? And it just gives the song, like, I don't know, just it gives it some authenticity. It's like, okay, that's something different. All right, now let's move on, because we go from here, this really aggressive and kind of odd sounding intro, to more of almost like just a straightforward, you know, hard rock, heavy metal style of rhythm. So let's hear that part. This is a second rhythm. Now again, this screams just hard rock and heavy metal, just the classic hard rock heavy metal. You know, we're playing that in the key of, I guess it would be like an F sharp minor here, and we've got that single note pattern that we start out with. Then we just go to some straightforward chords, and I don't just play power chords. I play that full D chord, but with the open E string there. Then I go to an A power chord in E. The second time around, do something a little different. I'll go over that. But yeah, this is this little, and there's probably a lot of songs you can think of that have a lick like this in the rhythm part, or maybe this exact one, because it sounds kind of common, but it's just an open E 2-5-2. That's all it is. Now you could play the open A, but I like this better. Those second two power chords just an A and an E, but that D power chord, I'm actually playing the open A string, which is that 5th note of the power chord, right? The lower octave. And then I'm keeping that final E string open. That is just a classic rock and metal way to play that D. It just gives it just a different feel. And I do that because I didn't want to just play regular power chords for this part of the song. A lot of times in metal music, you've got power chords all over the place, and it's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, I like to kind of just think outside. Well, what if I throw just a regular chord in there and just see how that sounds, you know, give it like a little bit more of, you know, kind of a rock and roll feel to it, which is what I wanted. You've got this really aggressive intro, then we go into this more like, man, just kind of a raw rock and roll classic metal feel. So we shift things up just a little bit, and, you know, I'm not trying to throw the listener off like completely, but I just think it's a really cool addition. So again, it's just something to think about as you're writing. Maybe throw in a regular chord in there in your rhythms, and maybe, you know, maybe start or end or somewhere in the middle, put like a little single note pattern in there. That can really just change things up and really shape the song. All right, let's listen to the third and final rhythm. Now we turn things up a notch when we go to the second part of the rhythm. A lot of alternate picking, just got that classic heavy metal feel to it. I mean, this is like, old school Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Exodus, Testament, all that stuff just kind of mixed in here with that fast alternate picking of the power chords. We're also in a little bit different key here. We're in the key of C sharp minor. So we've got some alternate picking power chords real fast, that palm muting going on here. And then, I throw in some of those really cool sounding chords, or one of them anyway. At one point we play, what would that be? We've got an A flat over E. Okay, that one power chord that I'm going to towards the end of that first part of the riff here. So I'll play this real quick, but we're moving those fingers around a little bit too with that C sharp. And we're actually doing the C sharp. We're moving that from the regular power chord over to a C sharp over A there. Now, that part right there, that gives it that really wicked feel, in my opinion. I'm kind of thinking like Dawkins, because George Lynch was just classic for playing those really wicked sounding licks and riffs. So I just kind of felt that as I was playing this, because I was sort of getting tired of just the alternate picking power chords as I was playing it. I love it, right? But I'm like, I don't want to end on that before going to the next section of the song. But I'm like, I want something a little bit different. I want to throw a little twist in there. So these are just those single note little riffs. And these are just a few notes, right? Just 2 notes, right? 4 notes if you count both strings. We're on the 4th and 5th frets of the A and the D string. Now, real quick before we move on to our little guitar chat, which that's going to be really cool and interesting. I think you guys will enjoy that. I do have a second rhythm guitar harmonizing those notes in the full piece, the full track that you heard earlier, which you'll hear again at the end of the video. So I've got one guitar doing this. I've got a second guitar harmonizing at the same time doing this. And all I'm doing is just playing the 3rd note. Of course, the 3rd appropriate note with, whatever key you're playing in. But when you're playing single note patterns, just count up 3 notes, within that key there, starting with the 1, then 2 and 3, and that 3rd one, you'll play that one, and that will oftentimes, be the appropriate harmony for that. It sounds really, really cool. Now, the biggest takeaway that I want you to get from this video, and then we're going to get into the original version of the song versus what you just heard. I'll explain why I changed it. Some of you might be a little upset. You're going to be like, Jason, why did you do that? But the biggest takeaway here, guys, is that you'll notice those 3 sections, I didn't even go to that lowest note possible at all. And it's not saying that you shouldn't. I mean, the culprit of heavy metal is that heavy, low sound. I'm in standard tuning, by the way, as most of you already know. But I didn't go there. There is a section in the song later I didn't share with you. There's one section of the song where I do play that E power chord, that heavy E. But I didn't go there because I didn't want to run the risk of every song on the album that I'm working on sounding the same. So playing in a different key and adding these new flavors to your songs, and then changing keys in the middle of the song. These are some things that can really help that song stand out and not sound like everything else that you're writing. So just be conscious of that. There's more notes and more chords and more keys that you can play in instead of always gravitating towards that lowest note possible. Now, real quick before we get into our guitar chat here, most of you know about my free practice guide, Metal Riffs and Licks. I've also got a couple of guitar courses, online guitar courses out there as well. There are links in the description. So after you watch this video, please spend some time in the description and just see what all I have to offer. It's a good way to support what I'm doing, and of course I greatly appreciate that. Now I want you to hear the original version of this song, so let's check that out real quick. I'm going to push play. I'm going to let you hear this. that was the original version, and one thing you may have noticed is, man, those notes seem a lot heavier. What did you do there? Well, that was recorded on my 7-string guitar. Now, some of you know the story of my 7-string. I've had kind of like a kind of like-dislike relationship with it over the past 4 years. Kind of like a toxic relationship. Hey, these are first world problems. But anyway, I just never really meshed with it. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I'll be making another video on that later. My 7-string is actually sitting in the case, and I'm trying to sell it at this point. But anyway, so I wrote the album, the entire album, the rhythm tracks for this album called Overcometh about 1.5 years ago. I hired Cameron Fleury to perform and record the drums in his studio. So those are real drums that you're hearing on here, just like my Masterpiece album released in 2019. Cameron played drums for that album as well. He's a beast. I'll leave a link to his website in the description of this video here. If you guys are looking, if you're serious about your music and you're looking to hire a real drummer, he doesn't know I'm promoting him on this video and I get nothing for it. But I want to promote him because he's really awesome at what he does. But anyway, so I wrote this album 1.5 years ago. Most of you know the story where I put the album on hold to focus on my guitar courses, which again, there's a link in the description for those courses as well. But I wanted to put these courses out there, something I've wanted to do for a long time. So I halted the project. And once I revisited the project, I'm like, well, you know what? I want to re-record this album on a 6-string guitar in standard tuning, because that's just, it's just what I prefer. So I did that, and most of the songs, of course, they're going to be different on, on a 6-string versus 7-string. A lot of it I was able just to kind of go down a string, like anything I played on that B string of the 7-string, well, I would start that on the E string, obviously, of the 6-string, and okay, so it's kind of just changed keys, not a big deal. But about half of the album, as I was going back, re-recording those, I actually had to rewrite probably like 4 or 5 of the songs on the album, and this is one of them, which I'll let you hear that piece again, the new version, as we end the video here. But yeah, I rewrote it with the 6-string, and again, like completely different. What you heard in the very beginning of this video was completely different from what you heard just now on the 7-string when we're sitting here listening. So I don't dislike the 7-string tracks, don't get me wrong. And I think, as I release this album, which guys, I'm working hard on this, I promise you, there's some things that I want to do with the album to really take it to that next level. That's just taking me some time, guys. It's expensive doing an album like, in the manner that I'm doing it in. Like for example, I want to record the vocals in someone else's studio. Well, that costs money, I can do the guitars here in my little studio, fine. The drums were done in Cameron's studio, but I want to record vocals in a different studio that's set up for that. My room's not really set up for recording vocals here. And I'm possibly going to get it mixed by another professional other than myself. And of course, they'll probably handle the mastering as well. So again, that's taking some more time because it does cost some money to do that. So buy my guitar courses. But seriously, guys, I want this to be, more epic than my prior album. But going back to the guitar parts, I was just, I don't know, I feel at home with my 6-string guitar. I feel at home in standard tuning. I like to try different things. I think it's healthy to try different things. But at the end of the day, you kind of know if that new thing is you. Just because you try something new doesn't mean that you have to like it or have to stick with it. Sometimes trying new things just reaffirms that what you were doing all along was the right thing for you. Sometimes not. Hey, I've tried some different nutrition tactics over the years. I did this, I did that. I won't even go down that road, but at the end of the day, I found what works best for me was eating the 4 or 5 meals a day, high protein, having some carbohydrates, and keeping the fat moderate. So it's a very simple, no nonsense plan for building muscle. Well, that works for me. I've tried, and again, I'm not going to get into all the different types of nutrition tactics out there. And some things may work for you as you try new things, they may not. I guess what I want to tell you is just to be open to both. Be open to, okay, this new thing. It is working for me. I like it, so I'm going to kind of merge into that, into that route now. I'm kind of going to go that way. Or you may find and be open to it not working just because other people down tune or play 7 strings or play 15 strings or do this diet or do that diet. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work out for you, and it doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy it in the same manner. Just be okay either way. You know what I mean? Try not to be influenced by, I guess, other, outside influences. It's good, again, to try new things. I tried the 7 string, I had it for 4 years. I recorded my masterpiece album with it, but, I gave it a fair chance. I just never really felt at home with it. I go back to my 6 strings, it's like a breath of fresh air for me. It's like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. I could go on about this, guys, so I hope this helps you, though. And again, I hope the lesson that we went through earlier, I know we kind of went on, a bunch of different topics all in one here, but hey, it's cool to talk about this stuff. Like I said, in prior videos, I feel like we're just hanging out in my studio. I feel like you guys are sitting right here with me. We're just hanging out, having a guitar chat, And guys, I'll end with this, and I'll let you hear that clip that we went over in the beginning. I'll let you hear that one more time, and please don't forget to check out the links in my YouTube description. But whatever you're doing, whatever you decide, whatever route you decide to go, just make sure it's what you really want to do, guys. Okay, just make sure that you're bringing out your authenticity. Again, it's cool to try new things, but understand that that new thing may or may not be what you want, and it's okay if it is. It's okay if it's not. Just be true to yourself, no matter what's going on around you. And again, guys, I hope this video helped. Please give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to my channel. All right, let's go out with our metal tune here.